Welcome to Cigar Time, your ever so friendly show all about premium cigars. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
No mask.
Thanks for having me, Link.
Yeah.
It's good to be back. What's this, our
It's good to be back.
third show?
Third or fourth show?
Something like that. Today, I'm going to let Rob tell you all about what we're going to be smoking today and rating today. And
Yeah.
Take it away, Rob.
Today we are smoking the AJ Fernandez New World Cameroon.
Can we light up now?
We can.
Okay.
You gotta open.
You can. It has a Cameroon wrapper, thus the name. And it's a binder and filler are both Nicaraguan. So,
You have your 12 flame there?
I do. This,
Thank you.
my two favorite tobaccos, Cameroon and Nicaragua.
I can vouch for that.
Is there another cigar that has Cameroon with Nicaraguan? Do you think of off the top of your head?
No, not just strictly those two.
There's not a ton of Cameroon anymore either.
No.
There might be a Rocky that's Cameroon and...
Or maybe the Winter.
I think they might have Honduran tobacco in it because that's where they are. Rockies in Honduras.
Well, he's in both places.
Well, I think Nicaragua's very versatile in the different wrappers that it uses. Like one of my favorite blends, and I'm not usually a Connecticut fan because it just tastes kind of grassy to me, the wrapper, but like the Pearl de Mar is fantastic. The Perdomo, it's Connecticut, and sometimes Ecuadorian Connecticut, but over top of Nicaraguan fillers.
Yeah.
It's a perfect
I
combination.
love that
Yeah,
blend.
it is. I think it is also.
Oh, by the time you view this show, the new Perdomo large size immensos will be in the
Yeah.
stores.
I heard
So
about
look
that.
for those.
How
They-
large?
Very reasonably priced. Very
Under
reasonable.
$9.
Yeah, for a large cigar. I mean, large format cigars.
Is it a large format within the different lines, or is it a whole new line?
No, the immenso is actually an old line.
I remember, yeah.
And they brought it back obviously because of the FDA and, the grandfathered in and all that. And yeah, the prices are
Yeah, under $10.
Yeah.
Under
Wasn't
$9.
the original Menso the one where they had the picture of
Yeah,
the
the-
Cuban woman with
who I
the
knew
yeah.
who I met at the top of the stairs in the Particus factory.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I
yes.
thought.
And she wasn't getting paid royalties.
Did they have, was that
Yes.
Perdomo?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was Perdomo.
That was a
Absolutely.
big ring cigar. Well, their cigars come in pretty big ring gauges as is.
Well, these are like
Yeah,
70s and 80s, right?
80? I don't know if
Or
it's
60s and 70s? 70s? I don't know.
70s.
They're big.
7 by 7.
7 by
they're
70,
big.
6 by 7,
They're
something
big
like
cigars. Immenso. They're big.
Pretty
They're
big.
immense.
They're immense,
Shocking.
exactly.
Well, the interesting thing is, any time you're smoking a cigar with Cameroon in it, the odds are very, very high that you're smoking it from a company called Marifel. And that goes back to the 19th century. And these people have been growing Cameroon wrappers in Africa, all that, hundreds of years. And Jeremiah Marifel, who I happen to know, is a great guy, and it's a great family, and they do raise some good crops of Cameroon.
Are they the only ones who grow Cameroon?
Pretty much. I don't know anybody in any large scale that grows it.
They are the Marifel family.
Yeah.
Are the family that returned Cameroon to Cameroon.
Yeah.
Basically, the industry was dead
Yeah.
in Cameroon.
Well, look at the climate of the political.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
But Marifel came with he was like the Johnny Appleseed of Cameroon tobacco.
Yeah.
What he did is he took seeds and he went around to tiny little villages and helped them set up micro plantations all over Cameroon. And that brought the industry back, and all of the product that you get out of there now comes from that process.
We know things like Connecticut seed tobacco can be grown in lots of places. Why has Cameroon not been grown anywhere else?
I think
Well,
it has, but
it
not
actually,
successfully.
Just
it
doesn't work?
actually
Well,
has
successfully
not too
did it.
successfully. I did it. It took me 8 years to come up with it,
Wow.
but I did come up with it. But more importantly, in Ecuador, one of the most popular wrappers there is Ecuadorian Sumatra. Ecuadorian Sumatra is a hybrid
Yeah.
between Indonesian Sumatra and Cameroon. And they first bred that all the way back in the late 1940s.
I wonder if some of it is companies just didn't want to grow it because I guess they end up, it ends up being so expensive because the yield is so low, because it's a very, very thin wrapper, or it's a thin tobacco. So the yield is low. Like, what is it,
It's
like
low.
30%? I've
Not
heard.
even.
Not even?
It's less than 30%.
So what that means is,
Why it's so costly.
of
Yeah.
of 100 pounds, 30 pounds,
25,
25
28.
pounds is usable. Not they'll use it for other stuff because there's an occasional filler, and
Yeah.
companies are starting to use it for binder, which I find very odd.
Yeah.
Since it's
Why waste it?
Yeah,
To me,
it
it's a
burns so
waste.
quickly.
But yeah,
It doesn't-
but binder for such a thin, I wouldn't think it would keep
They would
everything
have
together.
to be using low primers
Yeah, very
that
low
are
primers.
thicker.
And that's a totally different consistency and probably a different taste even.
Oh, yeah.
The main reason people haven't liked to grow Cameroon is it's actually one of those breeds that grows best in distressed soil. You know, there are certain tobaccos that actually taste better if they're
Like
grown in
Cuban.
bad soil.
Cuban tobacco.
Cuban tobacco.
You said that before on one of the
That's
shows.
true.
Yes.
And if you would see the soil in most Vegas in Cuba, you'd understand. It's rough.
How do you breed different tobaccos together?
You mean how do you crossbreed?
Crossbreed, yeah.
You can do it with cuttings, or you can do it at the genetic level.
Yeah.
Although I'm not that sophisticated.
Cuttings out. How?
You can act like you would do a fruit tree, where you
Yeah.
cut a piece off of a plant
Yeah.
and you put rooting mixture on it, so it's, you know, it's like a hormone that makes it sprout some roots, and you cut a notch in another plant and put it in and let it grow in there. And basically they grow together, and when that plant goes to seed, it will have genes from both plants.
Interesting. I never knew how they did that.
I've seen that in like fruit trees and stuff, but
Mhm.
at the genetic level, I never I think there's somebody at, there's a guy at Davidoff that does that at the genetic level, and I'm like, what do you like, take some super glue and take the two seeds and put them together?
Yeah, you
No,
cut them
I
in
think it's a
half.
little more sophisticated.
You cut the seed in half and
At the
super glue
genetic
it
level,
together.
it's like cloning.
Yeah.
almost. I mean, they're working microscopically when they do
That'd
that.
probably be something I'm sure Nick Perdomo
Now,
probably
my,
does.
my approach when I was trying to breed Ecuadorian Cameroon was very different because I'm not that sophisticated. So my approach, what I wanted was a thicker
Squeeze them together
Cameroon
hard.
wrapper that was oilier and less fragile but still had the same flavor profile. And the way I did it is I planted some Cameroon on our farm and only let the plants with the thickest leaves go to seed, and planted those seeds, and again selected only the plants that seemed to have thicker leaves and let those go to seed and planted again. And I did that for 8 years. But at the end of the 8 years, what I had was something that tasted just like regular Cameroon, but it was thick.
Right.
And it was not fragile, it didn't want to crack,
Wow.
it burned nicely.
Right.
And I made one cigar out of it that did very well.
Yeah. Which one? Can you say?
No.
Stop that?
So much for us.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. I'm sure subject.
Since you and I are probably the oldest.
I know exactly which one it is.
Yeah, I know. Since you and I are the oldest men on the panel here, I presume,
By a comfortable margin, I suspect.
I think so.
I'm like,
Do you ever think back? I remember as a kid in the 50s and 60s,
like crap for 36.
low-end machine-made cigars had the most beautiful Connecticut wrappers on them.
Boy, did that go away in 1962.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, but because...
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. They were elegant, they were beautiful,
Mm.
they had no veins,
No.
they had no discoloration,
No,
and
no sunspots, nothing.
they were beautiful.
And you look at wrappers today, and of course there are many beautiful wrappers,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, but I think back, even the lower end machine-made cigars back in those days, your Dutch Masters, your Phillies, your Antonio Cleopatra, they had these just golden brown wrappers. I mean, they're just gorgeous wrappers.
Well, sadly, part of that is that they used homogenized tobacco
Yeah,
wrappers.
yeah.
And you can make homogenized
yeah.
tobacco look however you want it
True,
to.
that's a good point.
You
I haven't
could,
tried that
you could
before. It was
antique
horrible.
it and make it look like old wood if you
Did
wanted
they
to.
taste like a real cigar back then, or does it taste like newspaper like it does today?
They didn't use as much
No,
paper in the
no,
homogenizing
yeah.
as they do now.
No, and there were some cigars, non-Cuban cigars, that were actually like real tobacco, all tobacco cigars. And even the Cuban cigars back in the 50s and 60s, just the wrappers were just incredible.
Beautiful.
Just-
Some of those Cuban machine maids are pretty good.
They are.
Was
Yeah.
it the
The little
Pietro? I think is pretty good.
Jose Pietro, yeah, something like that. Pedro.
There's another one I can't think of off the top of my head, but some of those are actually pretty decent.
Well, they all make in a small cigar, they all make machine-made stuff.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Cuba actually makes more machine-made cigars than they make premium.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, everybody
Yeah,
country
pretty
that
much
does
so,
them
yeah.
because it's such
Yes,
a
it's
big
easier
And
to
per
mix.
capita,
Guess that
do you
makes sense.
know that there are more cigarettes made in Cuba per capita than anywhere else in the world?
No.
Everybody smokes cigarettes down there. I mean, a lot of people smoke cigars too, but per capita, cigarettes are the highest in Cuba.
Really?
They put
Yeah.
all that junk and additives, or is it like everybody else does, or is it more pure
some
tobacco?
of the higher end. I remember, this is 22 or 3 years ago. I was there with my friend Juanito, God rest his soul, and we were at a banquet in a private home and everything. And they were just getting ready in a couple months to come out with the Cohiba cigarette.
Yes, I've had them.
Good.
I heard they're
So,
good.
so we're at this wonderful banquet. We have musicians playing, beautiful food being served, and Juanito brings out a couple packs of these Cohiba cigarettes. Now I hadn't smoked at that point. I probably hadn't smoked a cigarette in 20-some years, and I was never much of a cigarette smoker anyway. I took one of those cigarettes. I think my head's still spinning. I mean, it was so strong, but that was real tobacco.
And it
One
wasn't
cigarette in my
added,
life.
it wasn't added nicotine or chemicals.
no.
And what they do is they use the same black tobacco
Yep,
that they
yep.
use to make cigars. It's Cohiba tobacco
Yeah.
that they use to make the Cohiba cigarettes, so they taste phenomenal.
That's what I've heard.
They don't
Yeah,
have filters, do they?
No. Oh, well, now wait a minute.
You might be able to get them with filters, but I
You know
had them
something?
without.
I don't remember. Honestly, you got me. I don't remember. I don't remember if I had a filter on it or not. But I know they do
Look it up.
definitely make one with filters.
Okay.
They even used to make, although you don't see it much anymore, they used to make low end, they were lower end cigars with tips on them. No, this is a long. Do you remember
Cuban
that? at all?
habitantes.
But more or less,
Basically,
yeah,
yeah.
more or less. I don't recall what they were called. They were in Tampa. But, well, wait a minute. Now,
They
hold
might
on.
have been.
Yes.
Havana and Tampa, why
Have
not?
a Havana.
What kind of tobacco did those cigars? They had clear Havanas in it.
Sure.
That was real Cuban tobacco back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
They were weren't most cigars green back then?
A lot of
Used
them were
Candela.
Candela, yeah. They used to call it AMS, American Market Selection.
Yeah.
But there were, what the heck was that called?
Drop Life Candela.
No, whatever.
Certain ones.
Great Lip.
No. Still
Well, you know
certain.
something? The Cubans, although they did make Candela, percentage-wise, back when Candela was very popular here in the 50s and 60s,
In the 70s.
and even into the 70s, when Candela was very popular here, hardly any cigars coming out of Cuba were Candela.
That's because to most of the world,
Yeah.
Candela is a mistake. And the mistake is that they didn't let it hang
Yeah,
long enough,
yeah.
so the
Right.
chlorophyll was.
Chlorophyll, yeah.
And that was, the reason they call it an American market selection is we were the only ones that couldn't use Cuban
Yeah,
tobacco
yeah.
all of a sudden. So we had to use whatever else we could get, and we had to get it in a hurry,
Right.
because no one knew this was coming until it happened.
Yeah.
Impatient Americans.
Most of you have seen my friend Juanito's salesman's book from the
Mhm.
early
Yes.
70s,
Mhm.
which is beautiful if you like Cuban cigars or anything. I mean, it's just a beautiful book of all the cigars of that era, that time, which Cohiba wasn't even around in those days except as a ceremonial cigar. And there's no Candela in that book. They're all brown cigars. They're all Cuban. You know, there's no. There might be one, maybe two, but
There's none now. There's not even. I think there's only one Maduro. from Cuba?
No, there are actually more Maduros now. There are actually a few more.
Oh, really?
Not
I
a lot,
thought
not a
Cuba
lot.
had I thought the Medias or whatever it was the
Yeah.
only one. Really?
But not, there isn't much. There's maybe a couple.
I wonder why.
What was the Havana 98 or something? What was the Criollo 90? The one they tried and couldn't get it
That was
right?
Havana 2000,
Havana 2000, okay.
and they finally gave it up.
Yeah, they just couldn't get it right. But they're trying, the Cubans have a lot of problems with infrastructure, meaning the freezing or fumigation of cigars is not as well done in other countries. Cuba just doesn't do it. So they are always trying, correct me if I'm wrong, they're always trying to grow seeds that are more resistant to blue mold and things like that.
In that sense, despite their lack of infrastructure, the Cuban agronomists are very sophisticated, particularly in the area of tobacco.
Right.
They're very good at what they do.
Are they as sophisticated as those in Nicaragua and the Dominican and Ecuador? Because
Yeah, they
well,
have 500 years of experience.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I would say a lot of that experience left in 1962.
A lot
Well,
of it did.
A lot.
Well,
of it.
but here's the thing. What most people don't realize, every adult that turns 17 or 18 is mandatory university. The Cuban people are well educated. So things like agronomy and things like that, they go to school and they learn.
Yes, but it's different to have experience and read it out of a book.
That's true.
One of the
There's no
things, one of the
substitution for
things to
experience.
know about that though is the families that left Cuba, the tobacco families that left Cuba, were making money and wanted to keep making money. Agronomists get whatever they get. They're government employees with a low salary.
Yeah.
They had less impetus to leave.
Okay, I get that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think what most people don't recognize or realize about Cuba is it is an island filled with 12 million well-educated and well-medicated, I might add to an extent, people. And you know, who don't all live in thatched hut, you know, building, just the contrary.
That's
Oftentimes they live in 2 or 3 story houses that are now 5 and 6 stories because they build more to get more
Yeah.
people jammed into them. But it's, as you've heard me say over the years, Cuba is a just glorious place who you go for the people, not the government, obviously.
And you repeated this to people. You said you're safer there than you'd be in the parking lot
Yes.
in Colmar.
I have been in little towns in Cuba in the middle of the night, you know, where we're being entertained by a street guy singing Guantanamera, and we're sitting on a stoop smoking cigars, and the overhead street light the light barely comes down to you, and never, ever, ever felt uncomfortable in Cuba. And I've been everywhere in Cuba.
Very little crime,
Nah.
except what the government does.
Well, they steal from the government, that's the crime. I mean,
Have
to
you
stay
been there?
alive, the people steal from the government.
Have you been to Cuba?
Me?
Yeah.
And
At the times when I could have gone, I did not want to be on the list of people that had gone
Guys,
because of what I was doing at the time.
jewelry.
well, I always went, except for one trip, I always went with a license from the State Department, and we were on a religious mission, so we brought a lot of supplies down to groups of people in Cuba, sponsored powdered milk coming in from New Zealand, so, yeah, I know the island pretty well and made many friends over the years.
You know, my parents lived there for a year.
I remember you told me that a long time ago, yeah.
Under Carter, there was a cultural exchange
Yeah.
program with Cuba. And what my parents did is they went down there, and my father worked in a sugar plantation. He cut sugar cane all day.
Wow.
And they lived out with
Self-cut
the
sugar.
farmers and got to know the people, and it was all about culture, not about government, not about any
This
of
was
it.
while you were around or before you?
No, during,
Carter.
under President
Yeah,
Carter.
Carter.
I was
He was
already-
around.
Carter. Okay.
You
I was
remember
already
Carter,
old.
don't you?
I do.
You probably maybe want to forget, but
Yeah. That's a fact.
he's still around.
He
He's,
is.
You know what?
He
As
does a lot of great
horrible-
work, though.
Yes,
Yes,
he does.
Yes.
he's much better post-president
Right.
than
Yes,
president, man. He does
absolutely.
great
A lot
He
of-
does
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
us
great
would agree
work.
to that.
Absolutely.
So it proves he's a poor government person, but a good person.
Well,
That
let's
is
put it
correct.
this way.
Mm.
I was struggling in business trying to live with 22% interest rates.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I do remember from the
Well,
Carter
we'll be getting
administration,
into
high
it, don't worry.
interest rates.
A lot of people don't know that the first big altruistic thing that Carter did personally did not involve Habitat for Humanity. The
I
first
would
thing he
assume
did
he
is
did.
he took a big chunk of his personal fortune, went to Africa, and invested in water filtration systems for little villages.
Wow.
Because potable water is a real issue in most of Africa.
Talking Jimmy, not Billy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Billy would have just
Check.
turned it into beer.
Beer,
Turn this
yeah.
into beer, right?
I had one of those.
No, I think
That's why your hair fell out.
I think Carter as a human being, there's none better.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Awesome guy.
Not
But-
so much president.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little rough.
Yeah.
That was a bit rough. And his vice president, Mondale, died recently.
Just
Recently,
just
yeah.
died over the weekend, I think.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Yep, yep.
Yeah, Cuba is very, very grossly misunderstood. Anything else you'd like to add to our discussion? See, we're in seeds and plantings and Cuba and all the things you love.
Well, that's true, but I want to talk about the cigar.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
What cigar?
Oh, God.
I mean, if we're going to start into
Well,
it,
let me have your second impression, because we always kind of skip by the
well, I'm
first.
halfway done already.
Well, you're a power hitter.
He's on his second cigar.
Yeah.
The Phillies need you.
I think this is an excellent expression of what Cameroon is all about.
Yeah.
I think the white pepper spiciness and the gentle flavors of it really come through well. I think it's nicely balanced.
Mhm.
I think the filler doesn't overpower it, which is great because Cameroon is not a strong flavor.
No.
I think they've done an excellent job with this.
I feel that the pepper builds as you smoke it.
Which is unusual.
Yeah. Usually you get it in
backs
the
off.
beginning,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. I'm also getting a little cedar from it. I don't know
I always, and this is no different. I get the white pepper, but I always found Cameroon tobacco to have like a sweet spice on it, too,
Mhm,
almost
little
like
bit.
I want to say nutmeg, but something of that.
Something in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is one of the. Oh, wanted to say this earlier when we were talking about the yield of Cameroon. Most cigars with a Cameroon wrapper are like fairly high priced. This is not.
this
I
is
think
not.
this is like a $6.50 cigar,
Something
maybe.
like that, right around there.
It's in that $6 to $7 range.
Yeah.
So
Which is a hell of a
if you
bargain.
want
Oh,
to
it's fantastic.
experience Cameroon and you don't want to break the bank getting there, this is an excellent.
It is
way
the
to go.
quintessential Cameroon.
Whoa, wow.
The quintessential.
Really? Over
Wow.
the double robusto?
I think so.
Really?
Over the double robusto what?
Fuente.
Don
Don
Carlos.
Carlos.
That's a good cigar too, but it's different because I like this. I like the Nicaraguan tobacco as opposed to the Dominican.
Well, then define quintessential.
It's Cameroon.
He likes tomatoes, you like tomatoes.
They both get this tobacco from the same place.
Yeah.
So.
The wrapper.
But it's a
wrapper.
very different blend on the
Yeah.
inside.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And I think this
I didn't
cigar
know
is
that.
is a testament to AJ's blending ability
Mhm.
because the balance is so right for the wrapper. It's like
Here's
he
a-
built the whole cigar
Here's a challenge.
Around the
that
wrapper, yeah.
Here's a challenge. Name a AJ cigar you didn't like.
There aren't too many.
I can name one and one only, and I don't even think it's around anymore.
I never much liked
There's
the
some cigars
Yeah.
that he makes for certain
Other
you know,
companies.
other companies
He makes
that
them for hundreds of other companies.
I know,
It's like
but-
Placencia.
yeah. that
He's
I-
the modern
that I-
day Placencia.
that I really I don't like.
But we
whole
won't get it.
except he knows how to blend.
It's like everything he touches
It
is
seems to turn to gold.
fantastic.
Yeah.
The only one, the Pinolero, I don't think it's around anymore. I didn't
No.
look carefully. I did like especially the
Yeah.
Enclave Maduro. I thought was fantastic.
Yes, that's very good. We're bringing those back in, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's still tough in the cigar business to get constant supplies.
Yeah.
The demand is outstripping the Central American factories' ability to make cigars because the factories, yes, they're open a lot more than they were 6 months ago, but some of these countries still have strict curfews and they're not all at 100%. And we're doing the best we can in all our stores. Supplies are getting a little bit better, but it's still not anywhere near what it was pre-pandemic. So just kind of hang in there with us. It's been a struggle, and obviously.
And remember that cigars sit in the pipeline for a long
Yeah.
time before we get them.
Right.
So we are now coming into the heart of the
Yeah.
impact of them shutting down.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Even though they're now open
Well,
again.
Yeah.
Right, they have to age.
Yeah.
So-
The stuff that was in the pipeline didn't just sit there, they sent it other places. They sent it to other countries, they sent it to other places
Yeah, a lot
to
of.
sell.
I'd
So
rather
it
not
wasn't
rush.
just sitting there waiting for us.
No, but I'd rather not rush.
I think we should put our final review and number on it. Why don't you start, Paul?
Give it a 9.25. I really like it.
Well, that's high praise. Scott?
I'd give it a 9. It's a great cigar.
Well, you know me. I love Cameroon.
Rob, right?
Yeah.
You've been
That's
consistent
me.
all these years. You love Cameroon?
Love Cameroon.
Always been
I
your
love
favorite.
I love Nicaragua tobacco. I give it a 9.5. Especially it's so smooth. It really is a smooth cigar.
Right on.
You don't get the real burning in the back of your throat like you do on some Cameroons. This is a very smooth cigar.
I know what Rob's going to give it.
I'm going to lean this way because I don't want to get punched. But those of you who've been watching these shows for all these years know that price.
There it is.
Jeez.
Does
I knew that
now.
was
I'm
coming
leaning.
up.
I'm leaning.
That's
I'm
why.
leaning.
That's why he has to give it a 9.75 because you gave it a 9.5.
Price has something to do with it. Because, you know, it's a great cigar. I can't really top what's been said here. I happen to like Cameroon, and I happen to like Nicaragua, and I happen to like AJ. And I especially like the fact that AJ builds a quality cigar at a more than reasonable
Yeah.
price.
All his cigars.
As it was said earlier, quintessential.
Mhm.
I like that. I'm going to give it a 9.50 too, as well. So you've got a relatively, I won't call it inexpensive, but compared to what's out there, compared to other Cameroon and
It's
other
below the
companies.
sweet spot
Yes,
right now.
yes, it's below the sweet spot of pricing.
That's
So
correct.
I give it that 9.50 as well. So it's a great cigar. We do sell a lot of it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you vote with your pocketbook. And if
And
we
they
sell a
vote the
lot of
cigar
it, it's
pretty
because,
high.
Yeah.
it's because you like them and you like the price. So again, price is important.
Not in the rating, it's not.
Nah, I'm with Rob on that one. But
It has something to do
each
with
their
it.
own. Everybody has their own opinion. Some are just wrong.
If this cigar were $20, I wouldn't rate it as high.
I would rate it this high.
No. I would.
Yes.
That's why they make vanilla and chocolate. Well,
It's
as
still
we
not
leave
fun.
you this Wednesday night, we want to thank you very much for your business.
And watching.
We appreciate the fact that these have been some tough times over the last year or so. And thank you for watching. And we'll all be together next week. And
Don't forget our Saturday show.
yeah, don't forget our Saturday night show at 8 o'clock.
Mhm.
And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for
Ciao for now,
now.
everybody.
Smoke short, smoke cheap cigars.